Mandukya Karika, Pranam Mantra. Om Bhadram Karane Vishnuyam Deva Bhadram Pashe Makshabhirya Jatra Sthirairangaye Stustuvagum Sastanubhihi Vishema Deva Hitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashava Swasti na Pusha Vishwaveda Swasti nastakshyo arishtyanemi Swasti no brihaspati dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are having Mandukya Karika, Vaitatya Prakaran, where Gaudapada is trying to remove all ideas of illusion. Illusion that's there in our mind. Illusion that is all around us. When we were young monks, all these things were new for us, and we used to hear very funny word about Vedanta. People used to say, Vedanter kochkochani. Cracklings of Vedanta. Like when you put some puri for frying, you hear that sound in that hot oil. And personally, I used to find the expression extremely interesting, extremely funny, because it is in the nature of the unlearned to make fun of the learned. It is in the nature of the uncultured to make fun of the cultured. Culture requires struggle. Learning requires struggle. People who have not struggled, they make fun of them because somewhere they want to bring them down. So this expression amongst monks, the cracklings of Vedanta, the noise of Vedanta, rather the meaningless noise of Vedanta, well, I used to find it funny. I did not understand Vedanta. But I love the use of derogatory expressions concerning Vedanta. And like most of you, or most of my monastic brothers, I also developed this idea that Vedanta is all about khandan mandan, proposition, objection, and demolition. These are the three things you keep doing. It's only with some maturity now that some maturity has come when you are with the great monks and when you are struggling with scriptures. A time comes when you start understanding what is religion. Religion is very subtle. Spirituality is much more subtle. And subtler aspects of spirituality, well, that is meant for the chosen few. Not everyone can understand. So it's slightly difficult for people to appreciate Vedanta. I don't mean the popular Vedanta that you hear everywhere. I mean the true Vedanta. What we are going through right now is quite subtle. And two more chapters remain. You'll see how subtle the arguments are. It is not the question of accepting, not accepting. It's a very simple thing. The arguments are there. If your mind is subtle enough to catch them, you'll realize what is being said. Okay, that's it. Vedanta is not about argumentation. Vedanta is not about offering very fine arguments by subtle minds. Vedanta is all about only one thing, and that is freedom. Vedanta is about spirituality. And that way, Every religion, anywhere in the world, even the tribal religions, by tribal I mean the religion of the aborigines, I don't mean Indians, the aborigines, those who are worshipping stones, those who are worshipping wood, even even they are somewhere striving to outgrow their limitations. Religion is about freedom. When you take all the religions under one umbrella, it becomes Vedanta. Swamiji has very beautifully explained. We have mentioned it earlier. Vedanta is about freedom. Now, one thing that I keep telling my friends, those who talk to me, those who bring up this topic, what is the biggest motive? What is the engine that pushes you forward in spiritual life? Have you ever wondered what makes you go further and further in spiritual life? See, when you go through different works on spirituality, even a simple book like Vedanta Sar, Introduction to Vedanta, or any of these Prakaran Grantha, Vivek Chudamani and others, so they lay down conditions that if you want to study Vedanta, you need to have all this. Similarly, if you study Gita, you find there is that famous, the grief and sorrow of Arjuna, famously known as Arjuna Vishad Yoga. So somewhere the your world has to get demolished. Vedants are very beautiful said. You must feel as if your hair is on fire. That means you're running away from the world. When you come to the Upanishads, Upanishads are Upanishads have two aspects. One aspect is spiritual realization, and second is the way they come to us, theoretical learning. The Upanishads were taught to the disciples who used to stay at the ashram of teachers. So they just used to memorize. Now there were also conditions for the discipleship. Here we are discussing spirituality, core spirituality. What drives you forward? Anandam, joy. Freedom is joy. Those of you who have studied, who have read Carving Sky, you'll know. Joy lies in freedom. Freedom is about joy. Freedom is space. Space is joy. Spirituality begins in joy, continues in joy, ends in joy. Just that the intensity of joy keeps on increasing. Spectrum of joy keeps on increasing. Dear viewers, those of you who had some brush with Christian religion, Christianity would know that one of the fundamental things that a Christian has to accept that he's a born sinner. We have discussed it many times, particularly in Inspired Talks. The moment you say that actually Christianity stands on forgiveness. You are a sinner and God will forgive you, or Jesus will take the sin on himself, etc. That means to be a good Christian, you have to admit that you are a sinner. Similarly, in some other religions, first you have to have a slavish mentality. You are going to listen. You are going to listen to your master. But Vedanta is separate. And it's not about Vedanta. See, here I am not discussing comparative religion that we have discussed many times. Here I am discussing core spirituality, dear listeners. More than 50 of you are listening right now. I'll ask you one simple thing, and I'll tell you that very simple thing. Do you ever aspire to be spiritual? Do you ever feel like growing in spirituality? Do you ever feel like going nearer to God? If yes, the question might come to your mind, What is the way? The way is joy. When I joined, I was very young, barely 20. And I knew the monks, I knew the center. The first feeling that I had was of freedom, of joy. And then nothing could drag me back. If you really want to grow in spirituality, make sure to come out of long phases. Make sure to come out of any kind of fear. And make sure to maintain this sense of joy. This exactly is what is being discussed here. In these, in the previous talk, this is what was discussed. Once you have Advaita as the driving force, nowadays in India we hear of double engine growth. So what is the double engine in spirituality? The engine in the front is joy. It pulls you forward. And the engine in the back is joy. It pushes you forward. It will take you where? In the joy. There's nothing outside joy. If you are a true follower of Vedanta, if you truly want to be spiritual, forget all other ideas. You have to be established in joy. And what can give you maximum joy? This is what Mandukya Upanishad says and Karika explains. Advaita. Advaita alone gives you joy. The driving force, now here in Kolkata, there is West Bengal, we have local trains, and now of course local trains are pretty popular. But in India, local trains were first introduced in Kolkata. So 3 or 4 compartments have those engines. So engines are not separate. The compartment, the bogie, that itself is an engine. So in the front, in the middle, in the back, and sometimes in between. So it can pick up speed very quickly. Do you want to speed up your spiritual life? Yes. Stay happy. Stay full of joy. And aim to be in joy all the time. And ultimately reach that state of joy, that state of bliss, from where there never will ever be any fall. How about taking to drugs? How about taking to drinking? No, the moment the effect goes away, you are back into pain. Well, let's not diverge more. The idea is that as you grow into spirituality, as you grow more and more, you find that intensity of your joy increases. So I don't trust any of these spiritual works where they're talking about asking for forgiveness, being slave, etc. I am the son of God. I am the child of God. Read the Bible. Jesus himself says you have to be joyful. You are with the bridegroom. If you are with the bridegroom, why should you be painful? Why should you be in pain? Why should you be lamenting? Anyway, that's it. That's an entirely different issue. What we are discussing here is Advaita alone is Shiva. Shiva is auspicious. Advaita alone is Mangala, auspicious. Advaita alone gives you that double engine push, push and pull, both. So always remember that in any system of thought, when the action and its result are one and the same, that particular thing is always better. Here you find that action is joy. To be full of joy. Taking Lord's name, you should be full of joy. And that joy should not go away ever. And the goal is also joy. Kriya, action, and result, both should be joy. This is what our Mandukya Karika is explaining in verse number 33. It was shown previous talk. Those of you who didn't listen to the previous talk can listen to that talk, that the diversity that we know, it's all the pain, pleasure, etc., they come because of the diversity. Shlok said. Very nice verse. Bhavai asadvir, bhavai asadvir evayam advaena cha kalpitaha. Whatever we see in this world, they are all imagined on the Atman. Even the ultimate reality, perceived differently, is imagined on the Atman. These are unreal, yet imagined on the real. The joy, fearlessness comes only when you're establishing Advaita. So the idea was that the substratum is Atman and the manifestation is also Atman. The manifestation, when you see it differently, for example, it was discussed how some people take prana, energy, as the ultimate reality. It's Atman alone, it's the infinite ocean of Atman, which appears as wave somewhere, and that wave is, we call it prana. But actually, there is no absolute, there is no real existence of prana. See, no one questions that prana is not there. Advaita Vedanta, Mandukya Karika very well accepts that prana is there. So we fully accept that Sri Ram is there, Sri Krishna, everyone is there. We fully accept. What we accept that their existence is not real. When we say real, it means it has to continue in the past, in the present, and the future. When we say that Sri Ramakrishna was born in 1836, okay, Sri Ramakrishna, the person, if you're talking about the person, he was born in 1836 and he passed away in 1886, just when he was 50 years old. But that is Sri Ramakrishna, the man. Before 1836, he didn't exist. After 1886, he didn't exist. How can he be God? Can God be born? It is so naive to speak like that. How can God be born? It's the infinite. Suddenly there is manifestation of a particular wave. Advaita alone exists. There is certainly a manifestation. That manifestation appears to us as real. Why? Because we are in the realm of mind. Till we have this mind, we will accept that to be real. Nothing wrong with that. But with that will come fear. So, for example, in certain dualistic religions, here is our Tanmay Das asking, is twin flame? Sorry, I have not heard of twin flame. I have no idea. Twin flame philosophy, no idea. So the moment you accept God external to you, ruling over you, you may love him, you may hate him. But because there is duality involved, the element of fear will always be there. You may love someone as intimately, as intensely as you wish, but a time may come, a date may come, a moment may come, an occasion may come when some kind of separateness will come. Some kind of difference will come. Some kind of distance will come. So, happy couple, loving couple, even they go for divorce. Why? Because ultimately there cannot be any oneness between two individuals. Wherever you have two, there is fear. Wherever you have two, most importantly, there will always be difference. You can go on talking about oneness, you can go on talking about love. A dualistic religion can go on talking about God loves you. A dualistic religion can go on talking about you love God. But remember, the element of fear will always be there. If there is an element of fear, can you ever imagine to be fearless? And can it ever be Shiva, the auspicious? No, it cannot be. It's a simple reason. You don't need to be a great scientist to understand this argument. From there we come to verse number 34, which is our subject today. Natma bhavena nanedam na svenapi kathanchana na prithang kachit iti tattvavido vidu. So, the diversity that we see in this universe. Oh, prithak kinchit, sorry, I didn't see. Prithak kinchit. Here we see that there is diversity. I am different from this pen. I and this pen are different. There is diversity. What is this diversity? You see, you can go on talking about Advaita. You can use flowery words. You can use wonderful examples. You may quote the masters. However, the problem of diversity remains, and this diversity has to be explained. Karika beautifully says, the diversity in the universe does not exist as an entity identical with Atman. It's not same as Atman, nor does it exist by itself. This Atman is not one, this pen is not one with Atman, nor does it have a separate existence. Now, this is a very, very, very crucial point. The existence of this pen is neither identical with Atman, does it have a separate, independent identity. It's not a very difficult argument, but a very interesting argument. And neither is it separate from Brahman, nor is it non-separate. So you cannot say that it is separate from Brahman, and nor you can say it is non-separate from Brahman. The idea is that, you see, when some of these ill-informed people from different religions, they come and criticize Hindus for being idol worshippers, idolaters, Pauthalika. They forget this point that when we worship an image, we do not see it as separate from God, nor we see it as non-separate. Here is this pen. There are two possibilities. One is, pen has this independent existence as compared to God. This is duality. Whatever duality you talked about, for example, in Christianity, in Islam, in Vaishnavism in India, they talk about duality. What is duality? Duality is God is true and this world is true. This pen is separate from God. Advaita says, no, it's not. Then is this pen Atman? Is this pen God? No, it is not. What it is? Nothing. It is just play of name and form. It is just a manifestation. Now, just remember that when we talk of object, any object, even God, if you objectify God, when people in any religion talk of, for example, we talk of Sri Ramakrishna, when we talk about Sri Ramakrishna as being God, unconsciously, without our meaning so, we objectify Sri Krishna. Those who worship Jesus and other religions, they don't know that you have objectified your God. When people come to kill the Hindus, when they come to demolish Hindu temples, when they ridicule Hindu religion, They forget that they themselves have objectified their God. The moment you use a name for your God, you have objectified. But anyway, let's not even go into that argument. Simple thing is, till you are in the realm of mind, your God will always be objectified. Till you see this world as made up of objects, your God will always be an object. And this is a very serious problem, my dear listeners, dear viewers. Those of you who have been listening to this series of talk from the beginning, I definitely feel a bond with you. And let me tell you that I keep talking about this. And whole of Vedanta literature is all about this. And yet, there's just no way that you can ever get out of objectification of God. It's objectification of God. Because till your mind is there, you will always see diversity. Till you are seeing diversity, even God is just an object, just a larger object. God is the ruler. Ruler of what? Of this objective world. The way a king is non-separate from its subjects, theoretically. And that is why kings are deposed. That's why you get a new king once the king is dead. Basically, king is non-different from its citizens. Just like that, God is non-different from the objects over which he rules. It's a very, very, very simple argument, dear viewers. Just that we don't want to understand, we don't want to take it. So, this Karika, this verse, building up on the arguments that it has been building from the beginning, now comes up with this bombshell. This diversity that we see, or forget diversity, just take an object. My favorite example is pen. Does this pen have an existence? What does your mind say? Well, of course it's an object. No, Advaita says, no, it's not an object. Because it doesn't have an independent existence. Well then, is this Atman? No, it's not. So it is neither one with Atman nor separate from Atman. Then what it is? It has no existence. It's a play of mind. Until there is this play of mind, till you are seeing the diversity, you can never be at peace, you can never attain fearlessness, you can never have joy. And the ultimate goal of life, to be happy, to be joyful, can never come to you because you are seeing diversity. All the pain in life, all the suffering in life, all fear in life, all failures in life, all tears in life come simply because you are seeing diversity. So, is Vedanta a mental thought? No, it's not. You just think something, they say, power of positive thinking. Think you can do it. Think there is unity. Think, no. What is being said is that this is the real. This is what we have been discussing from day one. So now let's see what exactly they are saying. That whatever is Ashiva. See, normally when we think of Shiva, recently there was this Shivaratri, and I found that it's pathetic. Like in India, you feel sometimes sad that what has happened to India. People are dancing, sadhus are dancing, monks are dancing. And now somebody told me that now people are dressing like ghosts and goblins and dancing. No, Shiva means all that is auspicious. That's the meaning of Shiva in the Upanishads. Shiva implies non-duality. Shiva implies oneness. Now, what exactly happens when you are lustful? What happens when you want to grab something? What happens when you're jealous towards somebody? What happens when you are violent towards somebody? What happens when you're afraid of someone? Your mind being a very powerful mind, creates the dividing line. I and you, we become separate. Mind plays further tricks and says, take what is with that person, and if that person doesn't give, shoot him down. If that person is powerful, wait for the opportune moment. Can a person be ever at peace with such mentality? No one cannot be. So, do we develop this outlook? No, because it's a reality. It's a reality that has been experienced by countless sages. Even when Jesus, who forgave people who crucified him, was established in this Advaita. Because unless you are established in Advaita, you cannot really reach that level where you are ready to forgive your enemies. Shankar Chaudhary has asked a beautiful question. I'm not sure if you're listening to the talk from very beginning, and we have discussed it many times. And even if you just listen to our first talk on Vedanta, you will understand all this. See, we need to work. Advaita is something that you realize in the depths of meditation. Number one, once you come back to the realm of mind and you see the diversity. But now the diversity that you see is different. We are discussing this. We will discuss it today itself. So, first thing is, what we are discussing, is it an outlook or a reality? When motivational speakers say that you can do it, etc., they are asking you to have an outlook. They say, have a positive outlook. Is Advaita something like that? This pop Advaita that is now getting worldwide appreciation. No, Advaita is not that. It's a reality. But of what use is that where there is no diversity? I still want to enjoy the world. I still want to express myself. Is there any way out? Yes, there is. What? Sri Ramakrishna has beautifully said, and this is what we will be discussing a bit, not much. Those of you who are serious listeners, please keep in mind that which is reality, that which is reality should be practiced in our real life too, even when we are not facing it. For example, death is the ultimate reality. So you should be prepared for death all the time. That does not mean that you go and commit suicide. That doesn't mean that, you see, for example, we know that there is death. We know there is disease. Yet, people go and do lots of things. And somewhere in the back of mind, they think that I will definitely live till tomorrow. At the same time, they also know that they will not be able to live for very, very, very long. No one says that he will live or she will live for 200 years. These two streams of thoughts are working simultaneously in the mind. Lots of things that we do keeping this idea very clear in our mind that we are not going to live, say, for 200 years or even say maybe 400 years. At the same time, we have this faith, we have this conviction that we will live to see another day. Something similar happens with Advaita. Advaita being reality, Sri Ramakrishna very beautifully says that tie this knowledge of Advaita in the helm of your cloth. In ancient India, ladies used to wear saris and men used to put on dhotis. And if they had to carry something important, they would tie it in the helm at the end of that piece of cloth. So keep that Advaita knowledge constantly. When you tie a knot, when you tie something in a knot in your dhoti or in your sari, it's a constant reminder. Even now you will see, particularly in Bengal or maybe even South India, ladies of the house, the head lady of the house, they tie the key ring at the end of their sari and carry it on their back. Anyone who sees knows that she is the head of the family, head lady. Just like that, keep Advaita tied in the piece of cloth that you are putting on all the time. That means every behavior of yours has to be dictated by the philosophy, not that I am going to die maybe at 100 years old, but by the philosophy that we are all one. Today itself, I was talking to one of my brother monks, and we were having discussion on Advaita Vedanta. And I said that, see, look, people keep on talking mostly about how Advaita talks about Maya and how Advaita talks about the unreality of the world. No, Advaita is also about oneness. Nothing exists other than you. Don't be scared of anyone. Don't try to possess someone. You can love anyone you wish. That doesn't mean that you like to possess it. There's a fundamental difference between loving someone or something and possessing it. When we go to say, president's house in Delhi, we appreciate it. That doesn't mean that I want to be the president. No, I can appreciate some beauty. I can appreciate some painting. That doesn't mean that I want to possess it. People who want to possess something, the moment they see they are sick, or maybe they're kids, like children. Children are like that. Kids are like that. They see something, they want to have it. And mentally sick people, the dictators, if they set their eyes on something, they will have it. But if you're spiritually mature, you keep the philosophy of Advaita as the guiding motto. What is that guiding motto? Whatever emotions, whatever acts must be regulated by Advaita. Sri Ramakrishna beautifully puts it. And Swamiji, when Swamiji talks about all knowledge is within you, all power is within you, he's talking about Advaita. Actually, it's a fact. You don't have to fear any God. You don't have to love any God. Love yourself, that will do. Because that's a fact. Nobody. The idea is that whatever is being said, these are not outlooks. These are not some philosophy of life. These are all realities. Now, here, I'll just give you an example from Sri Ramakrishna's life because you see, it's so difficult to understand Advaita unless you have studied the biography of Sri Ramakrishna and studied Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. I was very lucky that from my earliest days in monastic life, Ramakrishna Mission has a wide range of books, and although we read Gospel and Life of Sri Ramakrishna very thoroughly, I was especially lucky that I was drawn into it deep. And I have read Gospel one or two pages throughout my life. So practically the entire Gospel is in my head. And so it has become extremely easy for me to understand Vedanta. Vedanta is extremely subtle. Even the great Sadhu Babas who explain Vedanta, no, they cannot. I'm not, I'm not belittling their efforts. I'm not demeaning them. I'm just stating a fact. So Sri Ramakrishna, he was sitting in Dakshineshwar. It was towards the end of his life, and he describes what is he seeing? Everything as pure consciousness. That was not a new development that he had been seeing from the time that he had his realizations. And he sees that in the Dakshineshwar Kali temple, that being a Shakti temple, goats were sacrificed. And he says he was seeing the sacrificial goat which is about to die is pure consciousness. The person who is about to make the sacrifice is pure consciousness. The sword that's going to cut is pure consciousness. And the pole where that goat is to be tied, sacrificial goat, pure consciousness. See this very interesting thing. Sri Ramakrishna is saying pure consciousness, that is Advaita. And he's also seeing the diversity. And that diversity doesn't have an exclusive existence. This is what Mandukya Karika is saying. Just remember, if you remember this simple example, dear viewers, and now I ask for forgiveness of you. Unless you have done some sadhana, some intense sadhana, you cannot understand these things. This is not like making a child understand two and two make four. No. Just to get the job of a clerk, an ordinary Indian clerk, you need to have the degree of graduation. You need to be a graduate. And to understand Advaita, which is the highest of knowledge, don't expect that you'll gain it just like that. You need to struggle. You need to work hard. Memorize the whole of Gita. Memorize at least 4 Upanishads. And whatever you study in scriptures, you need to memorize it. Because that idea has to keep on revolving in your head all day long. Only when you are living an idea, when you are living an idea, then the idea reveals its true import. So, for example, here is Niveta Bakshi. She's a doctor, I know her. She used to attend our classes. Practically, how to go to Advaita from diversity. Believe me, I must have explained this to this lady hundreds of times because she was a regular student. She cannot grasp because no one can make you grasp. No one. I may sound, I may sound slightly disheartening, but this is a fact. Simplistic ideas about God. There is a God up above the clouds, looking down at us, taking care of us. Anyone can understand. Try applying reason. It will crack. It will just crack. It will have a wide crack. Advaita never has crack. But it is difficult to grasp. If you study Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, if you study the life of Sri Ramakrishna, at least you will have some concrete examples before you to understand this. Advait is not an outlook. Advait is not a philosophy. Advait is not a theory. Advait is a reality. Advait is a reality. So, with this fundamental idea made clear, whatever little I can do. Natma bhavena nanedam na svenapi katanchana. The diversity, the object, the world which we see all the time. We get up in the morning and we look at the world and we see the diversity. We go to sleep with the diversity taken inside us. Even when we are slowly wading into the dream world and finally being dragged into the sleep world, it is diversity and diversity. And what does Mandukya Karika say? It's not just saying something out of blue. These arguments have been built. I think today is 20 or 21st, 20th or 21 number of class. Building the argument, it will continue to build. Says the diversity doesn't have an independent existence, nor is it one with Atman. When you go to a temple and look at an idol, it's not same as God, nor does it have a separate identity. So now Acharya Shankar explains that he says it beautifully. Only when you start analyzing deeply, Acharya Shankar says, that is, Advaita says, when you start analyzing, like Sri Ramakrishna used to say that, think, analyze who you are. Analyze. When you start analyzing, it says, multiplicity vanishes. Multiplicity vanishes for us daily. Just think of chocolates. Sometimes some visitors come to meet us. They bring different kind of chocolate, and when we were kids, we had seen these sugar candies of different shape and form, and these were so attractive to us. The horse candy, the elephant candy, the mouse candy, the dog candy. Now they make chocolates like that. Once I had gone to one sweet shop. They're very famous here in Bengal, one of those shops. And Sandesh is a very popular sweet meat in Bengal. And there, they had a huge piece of Sandesh in which there was a complete bridal party. The groom and bride and party and horse, whole thing made up of Sandesh. And oh my God, I loved it. Essentially what it is, Sandesh. When you look at a cake of different shape and size, kids may go on calling about which particular piece they want, but you know that actually they are all cake. When people bring chocolate for us, we know it's chocolate. And yet, those who are not mature, they fight over it. When you analyze so many, for example, sweets in Bengal is famous for its sweets. Mostly what they have, milk and sugar. Combination of milk and sugar. Add little heat, little cool. And you have so many varieties. Ultimately, what are you taking? You're taking only sugar and milk, nothing else. When you go to that spiritual plane, you realize that there is no multiplicity, there is no diversity. And the favorite example of Advaita says, when you imagine a snake on a rope, that snake doesn't have an independent existence away from the rope, nor is it one with the rope. This is the example that makes it clear. Snake was never there, you just imagined. Now, why did I imagine? Because you have been imagining things from the time of creation. When was this creation? It's timeless. It has been going on. Well, this is what the scriptures say. And in these matters, we have to depend entirely on the masters. When you analyze, when you go deep, you realize the diversity. They're not real. Not real as independent, not real as with Atman. This idea is repeated in every Vedanta literature. It is there in the Upanishads. It is there in Gita. It is there in Sri Ramakrishna. It is there in Swami Vivekananda. It is there in Ramana Maharshi. You go to any Advaita, you go to any master, they will tell you the same thing. Even Jesus tells in the Bible, I and my Father in heaven are one. The only problem is Christians say that it's a case specific. Only in case of Jesus, it is like that. But here we say that no, it is true of all, true of everything. So people come up with stupid arguments. So what to talk about? When we are talking about a philosophy, when we are talking about truth, the supreme reality, they will immediately say, oh, so you and your mother are one. Yes, of course we are one. At the spiritual plane, not in this world. Because I belong to this world, that is world of mind. You also belong to this world of mind. Don't ask stupid questions. So why discuss something which is not apparent? But that's exactly what scriptures are. Simply because I am not able to reach there, simply because you are not able to reach there, does that mean that we will dilute the ideal? No, we will not. Simply because you have not seen an electron and you will not be seeing an electron, does that mean that we will not accept particle physics? So it says, the diversity that we encounter all day throughout our life and through our lives, they have no existence. Once you realize it, this is what says Acharya Shankar in his commentary. Na pritang, na apritang kinchit iti tattvavido viduhu. Tattvavid. Those who have realized the truth, mind it. This is not a product of mind. Mind it. Not a product of mind. Tattvavit. Those who have seen the truth. Why does a Muslim believe in Prophet Muhammad? Because they believe that Prophet Muhammad knew the truth. Though they go by the words of Prophet Muhammad. Why? Because they know, they believe that he knew the truth. Why Christian believes Jesus? Because they believe that Jesus knew the truth. And why we are going to believe Mandukya Karika? Because we believe that sages had seen the truth. Simple thing. We go by traditions. We believe in some personality. We believe that this person had experienced the truth. This person knew the truth. And then we go by it. The only difference is that in other religions, there was only one great person whom they worship, whom they consider prophet. In Hinduism, you have hundreds and thousands of sages. Like in Vedas itself, you come across hundreds of sages. Sages who had their experiences of reality and describe that for us. So they say that when you see this diversity, they're not as different as, say, for example, horse and a buffalo. These are two different. No, nothing. They don't have any existence. It's a mind. It's the mind that creates all those differences. Where from this mind came? This is we have no answer to this. This we have discussed many times, so we are not going into it. So people who have realized the truth, Atmagya, nor of Atman, they say like that. So what will happen if I realize this truth? We discuss the theoretical aspect. It says, Vitaraga Bhaya Kroder Munivir Veda Paragay Nirvikalpo Hyam Drishta Prapanchop Shama Advaya. The wise who are free from attachment, those who have gone free, fear and anger, are all well versed in the Vedas. They know the traditional wisdom. They have realized Atman as devoid of all phantasms, free from the illusions of manifold, non-dual. So there are 3-4 verses. We will cover it in the next talk, and maybe in the next talk itself we will enter the next chapter, because essentially next 4 verses do not have much to offer. It's just about what exactly happens when you realize Atman. Thank you so much.